Ever wished your relationship with money could be like totally different? Less stress and way more fulfillment.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what your money or your life is all about.
It's a classic for a reason.
It really is, and you all asked us to deep dive into it, so here we are.
I'm excited for this one.
Me too. It gets into some pretty deep stuff about, how we view money and if it's actually making us happy or not.
And it's not just like tips and tricks for budgeting.
Yeah.
It's deeper than that.
Right. It's been helping people for decades now, so there's something timeless about the ideas in this book.
Absolutely.
We're going to explore how, societal values around money might be trapping us.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. In this cycle of overwork and unhappiness, and we'll touch on the 9-step program that Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez lay out to break free.
Love that.
Yeah.
The first step, and this is key, is understanding what they call the money trap,
Okay.
which is basically like the old roadmap we've all been given for how to handle money.
Got it. So let's unpack that money trap idea.
Yes, let's.
They talk about how modern life, it often feels like we're stuck on this treadmill.
Oh, I know that feeling.
You work more to buy more, but you never really get closer to genuine happiness.
Yeah. It's like you're running but not going anywhere.
Exactly. And they share stories of people who seem successful from the outside,
Right.
but inside they feel totally stuck.
That's so common, though. Like,
Yeah.
people think, oh, they have everything. They must be so happy.
Exactly. But appearances can be deceiving.
Totally. And you know what's fascinating? They actually back up those stories with real data.
Okay.
Like, even though, we have more material wealth now than ever before,
Yeah.
the statistics actually show a rise in debt and a decline in happiness. It makes you wonder, are we really better off?
That's such a huge question, right? And it leads to their next point about the limits to growth. This is where they connect personal finance to something much bigger, the environmental impact of all our buying habits.
Right. So it's not just about our personal finances. It's about the planet, too. Yeah. They argue that this whole more is better mindset, it's just not sustainable. It's actually harming the planet. It's like they draw this parallel to the natural world, where if a population grows too big for what the environment can support, things collapse.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a pretty sobering thought when you apply it to how much we consume.
It really makes you think about the bigger picture, for sure. Speaking of the bigger picture, I was really struck by how the book actually dives into, the history of consumerism.
Oh, yeah.
How did we go from needing things to survive to this idea that buying more is the key to happiness? You know what I mean?
Yeah, when did that shift happen?
Yeah.
It's interesting, they trace how even leisure itself became, commodified. You think about, vacations and travel, these things that are supposed to be about relaxing, they just fuel more spending.
Right.
Yeah, so the authors really challenge us to think about the assumptions we've just absorbed about money.
We don't even question it.
Exactly.
Are we letting our jobs define, our entire lives? Do our spending habits actually reflect what we really, truly value? I love the story they share about, I think it was a woman, who felt totally trapped in her job. But then she realized, wait a minute, I'm actually financially secure enough to make a change.
That's so powerful.
Isn't it?
That's a great example of what they call financial intelligence.
Okay.
Understanding your, true relationship with money, not just blindly following that script society gives us.
Right. Don't just follow the herd.
Exactly. And then there's financial integrity.
Okay.
Which is aligning your spending with your values.
I like that. So they offer these very concrete steps to get there, right?
They do.
They talk about tracking your lifetime earnings.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So you can actually see the true cost of your time. How many hours did I actually work to buy that new phone?
What did you really give up for that?
Exactly. And they explain how to create a balance sheet to get a clear snapshot of where you stand financially.
It's so important to actually know where you stand.
Right. And they really emphasize that these steps are empowering.
Oh, for sure.
The more you understand your money, the more control you have over your choices.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your finances.
For sure. And this is where we get to one of the most famous ideas from the book, the fulfillment curve.
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
This curve shows, how as we move from basic needs to luxury items, the satisfaction we actually get from them decreases. Think about it. That new car smell, it fades pretty fast.
Yeah, it does.
But basic needs, those bring lasting fulfillment.
It's so true. We get so caught up in wanting the next shiny thing.
Totally.
And then, they talk about how clutter can be a sign that you're on, like the downward slope of that curve.
Okay.
That feeling of having way too much stuff but not enough life. Have you ever felt that?
Oh, absolutely. It makes you wonder if maybe the key is not more, but enough.
It's a powerful shift in thinking.
It is.
And that's exactly what they argue. They challenge us to define, like, what does enough mean for me? What level of material comfort actually satisfies my needs and brings me, like, lasting happiness?
So good.
Yeah.
And they share some incredible stories of people who chose to, like, simplify their lives, downsize their possessions, and found way more happiness by focusing on what really matters to them.
It's inspiring, right?
Yeah.
It shows you that it's possible to break free from that consumerist mindset.
Yeah, and it's not about deprivation.
No, not at all.
It's about intention.
Exactly.
It's about choosing how you want to live and what you want to prioritize.
They also introduced this idea of life energy,
Okay.
which is essentially like the time and energy that we trade for money.
Oh, I see. So, like, are we getting a good return on that investment?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the question.
Got it. And they have this exercise called the monthly tabulation, where you track your expenses and then you ask yourself, did this purchase actually bring me genuine fulfillment? Was it in line with my values?
So good.
Right. It's about being really honest with yourself about those spending habits.
It's like holding up a mirror to your spending.
Totally. And that leads to the final piece of this first section, this idea of connecting your spending to your values and your life purpose.
So powerful.
They share this really moving story about Tom, a super successful businessman
Oh, yeah.
who realized that his life lacked purpose.
Mm.
And he ended up finding fulfillment through serving others.
It's such a powerful reminder that money isn't everything.
It really is. It made me think, are my spending choices reflecting what truly matters to me?
That's the question, right? Like, does your spending reflect your values?
Yeah.
And it leads us to their 9-step program, which we'll start to unpack in the next part of our deep dive.
So stick with us as we explore those practical steps and the powerful insights that your money or your life offers for achieving financial independence, but also living a life that's truly aligned with what matters most to you.
Okay, so remember that money trap we were talking about?
Yeah.
That feeling of being stuck on a treadmill, working more to buy more, but never really reaching, like, true happiness.
Yeah, like we're following this old, outdated roadmap for money.
Exactly. One that just doesn't work for us anymore.
Right, and your money or your life offers this new roadmap, one that leads to financial independence and a more fulfilling life.
Yes. But, before we can set off on this new path, we kind of need to understand where the old one went wrong. Right?
For sure, we've got to learn from our mistakes.
And the authors, they paint this pretty stark picture of the environmental consequences of our consumption habits.
Yikes.
Yeah, they talk about depletion of resources, pollution, climate change, all this stuff. It's driven by this desire for more, more, more.
It's like we can't stop ourselves.
It's like we're on this collision course with the planet's limits. Kind of scary when you think about it, right?
Yeah, definitely a wake-up call. But thankfully, they don't just leave us with doom and gloom.
Oh, no, not at all. They offer these, like, practical tools and strategies for creating, a more sustainable and fulfilling relationship with money.
Okay, good. So where do we start?
Well, it starts with awareness. They encourage readers to, like, track their income and expenses.
Okay.
Not just to, create a budget, but to really understand where their money's going
Okay.
and what they're getting in return.
So it's about more than just the numbers.
Right. It's about understanding the trade-offs we make with our time and energy.
Ah, yes. Remember that concept of life energy we were talking about?
Exactly. It's about asking ourselves, are we spending our, precious life energy on things that really matter to us? Or are we just, like, mindlessly handing it over in exchange for, like, stuff that doesn't even bring us joy?
Stuff we don't need.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where that monthly tabulation exercise comes in.
Okay.
It's about, like, taking a hard look at our spending habits and asking some tough questions like, did this purchase really bring me fulfillment? Was it in line with my values? Would I still buy it if I didn't have to work?
Those are good questions.
Yeah.
We should all be asking ourselves those questions. One of the most impactful concepts in the book for me was the fulfillment curve.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
It just shows how our spending can actually, like, decrease our satisfaction.
Yeah.
Once we move beyond meeting our basic needs.
It's crazy how that works.
It is.
It's such a, like, a brilliant visual representation of how chasing after more often just leads to these like diminishing returns, that initial thrill that fades so quickly, and then you just feel empty and you want more. It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, and that's when you find yourself on that downward slope of the fulfillment curve,
Right.
surrounded by all this clutter but feeling unfulfilled.
Exactly. And that's where the concept of enough becomes crucial.
Enough.
Yeah. Like defining for yourself,
Yeah.
what level of material comfort actually satisfies your needs
Okay.
and brings like, that lasting happiness.
It's not about having everything.
No, not at all.
It's about having what you need.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love the stories that they shared about people who, they embrace simplicity, they downsized their belongings,
Yeah.
and they just found way more joy and freedom in their lives.
Less is more.
Yeah, exactly. And, it really challenges that, like ingrained belief
Yeah.
that happiness comes from accumulating more things.
It makes you think, what would I do with my life if money were no object?
Yeah.
Like, what are my passions? What brings me joy? What's my unique contribution to the world?
I love that question. It's
Oh.
such a good one to reflect on. And once we get clear on those things like, our values and our life's purpose,
Yeah.
then our financial choices, they kind of start to fall into place.
Yeah. It's like
So-
everything starts to click. And the authors actually, they provide this 9-step program for achieving financial independence.
Yeah,
But it's so much more than just like managing money, right?
it is.
It's about creating a life of intention and purpose.
It's about aligning your spending with your values and finding work that is both like meaningful and financially rewarding.
One of the most valuable takeaways for me was this concept of financial integrity,
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
making sure that our actions actually match our values when it comes to money.
So important.
It's like being honest with ourselves about those spending habits and making changes that support our long-term goals and aspirations.
Exactly. And it's not about like a deprivation or anything like that.
No.
It's about consciously choosing to spend your money on things that truly matter to you.
Hmm.
When you do that, you naturally start to accumulate less clutter and experience, more fulfillment with what you have.
And I really resonated with that section about the money trap of confusing our jobs with our lives.
Oh, yeah.
They encourage us to really examine whether our work brings us joy and aligns with our values.
Right. Because if we're spending like the majority of our waking hours in a job that just drains us,
Yeah,
and doesn't resonate with our purpose,
right.
it's going to be hard to find like that true fulfillment no matter how much money we're making.
It's not worth it.
It's not. And they offer some really like practical advice on, how to start making changes.
Okay.
Even if just small steps towards work that's more aligned with our passions.
I love that. So like baby steps.
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't have to like overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right.
It's about those small, consistent steps in the right direction.
Gotcha. And they really stress the importance of like taking control of our finances,
Yes.
understanding where our money's going. Remember that exercise they talk about creating a balance sheet?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. It's such a valuable tool for like getting a clear picture of your financial situation.
Yes.
Listing your assets and your liabilities really helps you see like where you stand and identify those areas where you might want to make adjustments.
It's like a financial checkup.
Exactly.
Okay. And another exercise they suggest is like tracking your lifetime earnings.
Oh, yeah. That one can be eye-opening.
It can be, right. You're basically calculating how much money you've earned throughout your entire working life.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a real eye-opener to see the true cost of your time, and how much you've traded for the things that you've acquired.
Yeah. It makes you appreciate the value of your life energy and, encourages you to make more conscious decisions about how you spend your time going forward. Like, is this really how I want to be spending my precious time on this earth?
Yeah, it's about prioritizing. This book is so relevant today, even though it was first published like decades ago.
It really is.
I think that core message of like aligning your finances with your values and finding fulfillment beyond just material possessions, that's timeless.
It is. It's a message that resonates so deeply, especially in our current culture, with all the overconsumption and instant gratification.
We want it all, and we want it now.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I love how they encourage us to redefine success,
Mhm.
on our own terms. It's not about like keeping up with the Joneses or chasing after some arbitrary definition of wealth.
Right.
It's about creating a life that's rich in experiences, meaningful relationships, personal satisfaction. It's about, finding joy in the simple things and appreciating what we already have.
I love that. And that journey starts with taking a deep dive into our own relationship with money. The authors provide this framework for understanding our financial patterns,
Hmm.
identifying those areas where we might be overspending, and making those conscious choices that support our long-term well-being.
It's about breaking free from that money trap, reclaiming our life energy, and then pursuing our passions, living a life that's both financially secure and deeply fulfilling.
One of the things that really struck me about the book was that emphasis on financial intelligence.
Mm.
It's not just about knowing how to balance a budget. It's about understanding those deeper psychological factors that drive our financial decisions.
It's about getting to the root of why we do what we do with money.
Totally. And they offer these practical tools and strategies for developing financial intelligence, like tracking your spending, creating a budget, and learning how to invest wisely. But it's also about questioning our assumptions about money, challenging those cultural norms that often lead to overspending and debt.
Right, like breaking free from those societal pressures.
Yeah, and I love how they encourage readers to become more conscious consumers,
Yeah.
think critically about their purchases, and make choices that align with their values and their long-term goals.
It's about being mindful, intentional with our spending, breaking free from that buy now, think later mentality.
Yeah. They share this powerful story about Tom, the businessman who achieved outward success, but then realized his life lacked meaning.
Right, it's a classic tale. The guy who has it all but isn't happy.
Exactly. He ultimately found fulfillment through serving others.
Yeah, that's such a great reminder that, true wealth isn't measured in dollars and cents. It's about the impact we make on the world.
So true. And that impact can take so many different forms, right? It could be volunteering, donating, or just being more present in our relationships.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to contribute to something bigger than ourselves, leaving a positive mark on the world.
I think this book offers this powerful antidote to the consumerist culture that often leaves us feeling so empty and unfulfilled.
It's about reclaiming our power, choosing to live a life that is both financially sound and deeply meaningful. And it's about recognizing that, true happiness doesn't come from what we own. It comes from how we live, the connections we make, and the contributions we make to the world around us.
One of the things I found so inspiring about the book was this emphasis on personal transformation. It's not just about changing your financial habits.
Right.
It's about shifting your whole mindset around money and what it means to live a good life.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's about, challenging us to examine those beliefs about money, our spending patterns, our relationship with material possessions, and breaking free from those limiting beliefs that often hold us back from achieving financial freedom and living a life of purpose.
And they encourage us to ask ourselves these tough questions are we working jobs we hate just to pay for things that we don't even need? Are we sacrificing our time and energy just to accumulate more stuff? Are we living in alignment with our values? Those are the kinds of questions that can lead to, some profound personal growth and transformation.
It's about waking up to the realization that we have way more control over our lives than we often realize. We have the power to create a life that is both financially abundant and deeply fulfilling.
Absolutely. And they offer these practical steps for making that happen, tracking your spending, identifying your core values, setting financial goals that are aligned with your life purpose. It's about creating a life of intention and purpose,
Yeah.
where money is simply a tool that supports us in living a more fulfilling, meaningful life.
Yeah, I love that. Money's a tool, not the end goal.
Right. And one of the most compelling aspects of the book, I think, is this idea that financial freedom isn't just about having a lot of money.
No, it's not about being rich.
Right.
It's about having enough to live a life that is aligned with your values.
Yeah.
And allows you to pursue your passions.
So it's about freedom, really.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about experiencing that sense of security, that freedom that comes from knowing that you have enough to meet your needs and live a life that's both comfortable and meaningful.
It's about peace of mind.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, they share these inspiring stories of people who have achieved financial independence.
Yeah.
And they're out there living their dreams.
Good for them.
Yeah, whether it's traveling the world, pursuing, creative endeavors, or simply spending more time with loved ones.
It sounds nice.
It does, right. Those stories are a testament to the power of aligning your finances with your values
Yeah.
and creating a life that is both financially abundant and deeply fulfilling.
So are you ready to dive into those 9 steps?
I am. It's like a practical roadmap, It,
Yeah.
it guides you through that process of tracking your spending, creating a budget, investing wisely. It's like a step-by-step guide to taking control of your finances and creating a life of greater freedom and abundance.
And they emphasize that, financial independence, it's a journey, not a destination.
It's not like you wake up one day and you're suddenly financially independent. It's
Mhm.
about, making those conscious choices each day.
Yeah, little by little.
Exactly, that support your long-term goals and aspirations.
It's like building a house brick by brick.
I like that analogy.
One of the most powerful concepts in the book for me was this idea of life energy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's like looking at our time and energy as our most valuable resources.
Which they are.
They are, right. It's about realizing that we have a limited amount of time on this planet and choosing to spend it wisely on things that truly matter.
Right, because once that time is gone, it's gone.
Hmm.
And, they encourage us to be mindful of how we're spending that life energy, making sure that our work and our spending habits are aligned with our values, that they contribute to our overall well-being.
Like, what are we giving our energy to?
Exactly. And they offer, like, practical tips for maximizing our life energy, like simplifying our lives, eliminating unnecessary expenses, finding ways to work more efficiently. It's about being more intentional with our time and our energy.
So, like, work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Okay.
Making sure that we're spending them in ways that bring us joy and fulfillment. Recognizing that we have a choice, in how we spend our days and our money,
Mm-hmm.
and choosing to spend them on things that nourish our souls and make a positive difference in the world.
It's so easy to get caught up in that thinking like, oh, I just need more money, then I'll be happy.
It's like that's the answer to everything.
Right. But your money or your life really challenges that.
Big time.
It's about recognizing that our time and energy are like limited
Yeah, we're not going to live forever.
and choosing to spend those wisely on the things that really matter to us.
It's about intentionality, not deprivation.
One of the things that really stood out to me was this idea of aligning our spending with our values.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Like when we spend money on stuff that's important to us, it brings a sense of satisfaction that you just don't get from like impulse buys or trying to keep up with the Joneses.
It's true. And they actually, they recommend this really interesting exercise. Yeah. Tracking your spending for a month and then categorizing each expense based on whether it brought you fulfillment, was in line with your values, and if you'd still buy it if you didn't have to work.
Huh. That's an interesting way to look at it.
It can be really eye-opening.
I bet. Like, whoa, why did I buy that?
Exactly.
Okay, so the book also dives into this concept of financial integrity, which is essentially making sure that your actions, like with money, actually reflect your values. It's about being honest with yourself about your spending habits and making changes that support your long-term goals.
Yeah. It's about taking control of your finances.
Instead of letting them control you.
Exactly.
Right.
And they offer a ton of practical tips, for reducing expenses, saving money. But it's not about being cheap.
No.
It's about being smart, making sure your money's working for you.
Right. Not the other way around.
Exactly. And I love how they encourage readers to, like, think outside the box.
Yeah.
Find ways to enjoy life without, breaking the bank. It's about finding that joy in those simple things, experiences, relationships, not just stuff.
They really drive home the point that that true wealth, it's not about how much you own.
Nope.
It's about how you live your life.
It's about finding meaning and purpose beyond just those material things.
Yeah, and that's a message that I think like we all need to hear in today's society. We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to buy more, have more, do more, more.
Exhausting.
It is. And it's so refreshing to have a book that challenges that whole narrative, reminds us that true happiness comes from within.
Your money or your life offers a different path.
Yeah.
It's about, like, simplifying, focusing on what matters, and then creating a life that's both financially secure and deeply fulfilling. It's about finding that sweet spot where your financial choices and your values align.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive,
Yeah.
what is one final provocative thought you want to leave with our listeners, something that will like stick with them?
Remember that question we talked about earlier? What would you do with your life if you didn't have to work for a living? I encourage everyone listening to really ponder that. What does a life of true freedom and fulfillment look like for you? And what small steps can you take today to start moving in that direction?
I love that. It's such a powerful question. And if anything resonated with you today, you know, take a moment, jot down your biggest takeaway. Like, what's one small change you could make this week to start aligning your spending with your values and reclaim that life energy?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like this huge, sweeping change, right? Even the small steps, those can make a big difference over time.
Totally. Every little bit counts.
It really does. It's about making those conscious choices, that support your long-term well-being and create a life that's truly aligned with what matters most.
So well said. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into your money or your life. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to rethink that relationship with money
Yes.
and create a life that's both financially sound and deeply fulfilling.
It's been such a pleasure exploring these ideas with you and with everyone listening. Here's to living a life of purpose, intention, and abundance.
Cheers to that.